I first had the idea to build chess on a hyperbolic board over half a decade ago. My friends and I had just implemented hex chess into our chess website, and I was wondering whether octagons, the next even-sided polygon up, could also be used for a chessboard. Unfortunately, they don't fit together nicely like hexes do. See here, you need more room to fit 3 together at a point. Amazingly, there's this other kind of space, which mathematicians call hyperbolic space, where you basically can get more room around a point, leading to these pretty crazy tilings of the plane, including this one with octagons, where 3 are meeting at a point. The octagons look like they're changing sizes, but are really all the same. Hyperbolic space doesn't fit nicely into our space, so we need to distort things. This visualization is called the Poincare disk. Sorry if I butchered that, and the boundary of this disk represents an infinite distance away. Going out from the center will proportionally shrink our octagons as they approach the boundary. All that time back, I threw together a little mock-up of an octagonal board, using this Hyperbolic Python library. Taking it further was a daunting amount of work at the time. I was busy and a much less experienced developer, and that's where the progress stopped. Until last month. With a little inspiration and many late nights, Hyperbolic Chess now actually exists. Although I'm going to say for the time being this is in beta, as the actual chess gameplay needs a whole bunch of testing. How the pieces are set up, how they move, or even the type of hyperbolic tiling could absolutely change around. In this video, I'll be taking everyone through what currently exists, and how the rules of chess can still make sense. As I mentioned, this is an octagonal board. We can use a hex board as a nice reference, given it has a similar structure where 3 of each tile are meeting at a vertex. The octagonal board is built out layer by layer from the center tile, using these edge connections. They're like the rank and file directions from regular chess, also known as the orthogonals. Regular chess has 4, hex chess has 6, and octagonal chess has 8. We continue around until we have a radius of 4, so 3 layers built around the center tile. The octagonal board grows very fast. We already have 161 tiles here, and there would be an additional 448 tiles in just the next layer. For reference, this 6 radius hex board has 91 tiles total, and the classic chessboard of course has 64. So our hyperbolic board is a little strange in that it has a ton of tiles, but isn't very wide. This is reflecting how hyperbolic space works, where the circumference of a circle grows extremely fast as we increase the radius. People are often thrown off by how diagonals are defined in hex chess, since the diagonal tiles aren't immediately adjacent, but it does correspond well with regular chess. We've got these 6 distinct diagonals going out from the corners, just as regular chess has 4, and octagonal chess once again has 8 diagonals. If you're seeing ahead here, this does mean that pieces in hyperbolic chess can get very crazy, going out from all the diagonals and orthogonals. But remember, we just learned that there are also a ton of tiles on this board, which is a counterbalancing force to the piece's strength. Due to a very large circumference, this board also has a lot of board edge, and pieces on the edge are a lot weaker. We'll come back to piece movement in a moment. Now, what's the deal with this shifting perspective of the board? When I press any of WASD, we take a small fixed step in that direction. Our hyperbolic visualization is then reapplied, centered at the new position. I'm skimming over that truly moving around in hyperbolic space is pretty unintuitive, where your perspective wants to rotate, which is very disorienting for chess playing. So I went with a kind of hybrid camera movement here, keeping the orientation upright. It does feel pretty natural to move to a particular part of the board, and pressing E will snap you back to the center. It's time for the pieces. Let's start with rooks. We want to go out in every orthogonal direction, just like we do in regular or hex chess. This looks fine from the center, but when we shift our perspective or move away from the center, it starts to get really weird. The rook is still tracing out those lines. This is just what they look like in hyperbolic space. A mathy word for these lines are geodesics, essentially what straight lines are on these strange surfaces. Remember, all these octagons are identical in size and joined edge to edge. Our rook taking a straight path is actually just doing this, going straight through octagons. This is the key to understanding how the movement works. We just need to have some way of figuring out what going straight through the octagons means on the hyperbolic board. This straight line through an octagon goes from one edge to the opposite edge, regardless of the distortion. So what we need to do is identify the edge we're entering from and find the opposite edge, which we can do by counting 4 edges counterclockwise or clockwise. We get the full movements of the rook by doing this in all directions. The path just stops when you would run off the edge of the board. We do an analogous thing for the diagonal paths, finding the corner 4 corners away. Here's that queen, also going out from all the diagonals. You might notice that we aren't even taking multiple diagonal steps here, as again, the board is not very wide, and this is especially true for the diagonals, which skip over other tiles. This is the queen taking a longer diagonal path. In fact, this is the longest diagonal path on the board. I've made a small change to the bishop. It goes out from all diagonals, but also has this passive move, one step orthogonally. Passive means it cannot capture moving in this way. As I just mentioned, the diagonals are really small, and I think restraining the bishop to one color and then needing 3 of them is not going to be as nice. This decision, like most of the gameplay decisions, is totally contingent on playtesting, and could change around. The king currently moves 1 orthogonal step, and can capture like usual. We need to introduce a new concept for the knight, as going out straight in a direction will no longer be sufficient. Thankfully, there's a natural way to extend our movement capabilities. By turning, instead of going straight out repeatedly, we can offset a step in our path by as many edges as we'd like. This is the current moveset for the knight. We're going out 1 step orthogonally, and then instead of going straight ahead for another step, we offset by 1 edge clockwise or counterclockwise. This isn't an L, but the L here is very big and probably more silly from a gameplay perspective. This is also consistent with the FIDE rules for how a knight moves. Apparently the chess rules don't say the knight moves in an L. The knight moves to the nearest squares which aren't on the same rank file or diagonal. Essentially, it makes the closest non-queen moves. This does mean an L on the regular chessboard, but not here. Rank and files of course being analogous to our orthogonals. This definition holds for hex chess as well. Lastly, we have the pawns, and we need one more concept here. As we've seen, some intuitions we hold about regular space no longer apply in hyperbolic space. And what we've lost this time is a notion of consistent compass directions at every tile. Basically, you can't have a north, east, south, west at a tile that will continue to hold as you move around the board. This is why the rook isn't moving like this. It ends up having different orientations depending on which path it's traveled. It's also why our pawns are starting out with this rather silly 1 orthogonal step in every direction moveset. This is a passive move, so you can't capture with it. Capturing happens 1 step away diagonally. You do get to do a double step pawn move on the first move, which is like moving 2 steps in the same direction. And you can be en passanted if you do this through an opposing pawn's attack. The pawns moving in every direction is a little inelegant. Pawns are an important part of what makes chess feel like chess, and being able to move them backwards takes away from the positional nature of the game. They are very likely to get patched at some stage. I've been looking at all kinds of alternatives. One promising idea is that when they move in a direction, they can't move in opposite directions next time they move, which would mean they could only turn very slowly. This is the piece setup. Notice we only need the 1 bishop, since it can access all the colors. It's nice to have some wiggle room, as the pieces can be quite restricted on the board edge. They're currently arranged to make development a little easier. I also wanted to have a reasonably compact setup to possibly support a higher number of players in the future. There are a ton of possibilities here. It might be that we need to put extra effort into balancing play around the center, given how strong the pieces are there. This entire region behind the pawns is the promotion zone for the opposing side. Castling isn't currently possible, but it could be at some point if the king and rook were on the same geodesic. And that's a primer on hyperbolic chess. This is a currently playable chess variant over at mchess.io, that site that my friends and I built. You can compose hyperbolic with some of our other variants as well. More on that in a future video. You can visit mchess.io/hyperbolic for a local game where you can control both players. mchess.io/hyperbolic/AI will put you into an AI game, but there have been no updates at the moment to the AI's heuristics, so expect shenanigans like those backward pawn moves. It is more inspired than a random move bot, and will be able to kill you, so it might make for some initial fun. If you want human players, we have a Discord, which mchess.io/discord will forward you to. And finally, if you like what I'm doing here, a subscribe is super appreciated. I've got a ton more planned for the next year.